last night was the first primetime January 6th committee hearing. And, you know, I am all for publicizing this. Ideally, when you're going into a midterm election or an election, you have both your gains that you've made if you're the majority party, if you have the presidency, the Senate, and the House. Democrats don't really have this. And you also have negative partisanship. So if they don't have much to show for the former, which is frustrating as hell, go to town on the latter.
Well, and also, I just want to say, like, even if this hurts them electorally, it's still worth doing.
Still valuable.
Like, getting this all on the public record, I think, is... And I'll just make another note on... you know, insurrection is the term that I think is being widely used. I don't like that because that's a rebellion against state authority. These people were appealing to state authority to overturn the results of an election against the will of the people. So I'd like to just call it a coup attempt. And that's what it was. It was a coup attempt. And it was a dress rehearsal coup. And it's an active project to continue to try to make sure that they can swing an election that they lose.
You referred to it as a dress rehearsal before we started, or either you or Bradley. It all blends together in my mind. And that's exactly what it seems like. And so laying this out in clear and uncertain terms is valuable for both electoral purposes, but the larger, more important existential question of authoritarian far-right mob rule and trying to combat that.
And you just the organized right-wing parties not like deciding that we're going to opt out of democracy. I mean, you see this in Brazil, you see this all over the place.
Yeah, and I was appreciative too of the committee's diversity in terms of the topics that they decided to cover on night one, which I'm sure is what is going to get the most eyeballs. So, I mean, they both focused on Trump. You know, one of the parts of the testimony was that Trump did not make one call to the Defense Department or any agency during the attack, and Pence was basically calling the shots. Mark Milley testified to that effect. There was also testimony from Capitol Police Officer Caroline Edwards, where she talked about slipping in blood in the Capitol. Testimony from a documentary filmmaker following the Proud Boys, which what I was appreciative of was that emphasis on Proud Boys and Oath Keepers and their coordination and their attempt to do this in a systematic way to overthrow the election and overthrow the will of the people.
Yeah, they had fascist goons. I mean, Enrique Tarrio visited the White House, and it is good, like I said, to put all this stuff on the record. Now, there is a reaction like, oh, this stuff is sort of previously uncovered, and it was just previously unregistered by, you know, the people who should have been taking this seriously as a coup attempt in the lead up to it.
100%. And so they were both emphasizing Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, but also Donald Trump's connection to them as well, and the coordination. His stand back and stand by comment. Something that stuck out to me in the hearing was they interviewed a Proud Boy that was cooperating with them, basically, Jeremy Bertino, or former Proud Boy, who said that membership tripled after Trump's stand back and stand by comments during the election leading up to this. So there was a ton of stuff. Ivanka Trump admitting that she took Bill Barr's statement that Trump lost the election at face value. Bill Barr self-servedly testifying that he stood up to Trump and told him that his election stealing claims were bullshit. So these were just some of the highlights from last night, or lowlights for that matter. But the thing that I think most people are going to focus on, because it's the most visceral, is this video of the unseen footage from the January 6th coup attempt. There is some violence in this, so I want people to be aware of that. But I think it's incumbent upon us to play some of this. This is about a 10-minute long video, but we're going to play around 5 minutes of it. Here is part of the previously unseen footage, body cam footage, security cam footage, compiled together with a timeline by the January 6th committee.
There's a crowd surge heading east.
We love Trump! 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 We love Trump!
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
Priority. We just had President Peace Circle breach the line. We need backup.
Madam Speaker, the Vice President and the United States Senate.
We're going to give riot warnings as soon as the outriders here. We're going to give riot warnings. We're going to try and get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
35 to 50 be advised, Cal Police 1 advised they're trying to breach and get to the Capitol. Yeah, copy. We're about 5 miles out. We're trying to make our way through all this. Breach of the Capitol to the upper level.
Jack, be advised they're requesting additional resources on the east side as they've broken into that window and they're trying to kick it in.
Without objection, the chair declares the House in recess pursuant to Clause 12B of Rule 1.
My kids didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. U.S. demands the truth.
This is a rioter reading Trump's tweet out loud on a bullhorn.
We're gonna get too many fucking people. Look at this fucking bandit swing, man. We're fucked.
We need an area for the House members. They're all walking over now through the tunnels. We're trying to hold the upper deck. We're trying to hold the upper deck now. We need to hold the doors of the
I need court support. We lost the line. We lost the line. All MPDs pull back. All MPDs pull back up to the upper deck. All MPDs pull back to the upper deck. ASAP.
All right, I think we have a good picture of it. At a certain point, there's also footage of some security officers barricading the doors to the chambers there. Wow, Antifa really got into character there.
It's worth reiterating that there were people armed among that. Police did seize weapons among that crowd, which you wouldn't know if you followed, for instance, like Glenn Greenwald's Twitter account, which repeatedly said that it was a completely unarmed sort of group. And yeah, I think it's amazing that only one person out of that group was shot. I think it's a frankly amazing feat of restraint, and it's interesting that the right wants like you to throw a pity party that Ashley Babbitt got shot. Like frankly, like I'm not shocked at all, given like what was happening there, and then trying to breach the inner sanctum, which we didn't get to that point. But like that was a coup attempt, and
although we should say that multiple people died. It wasn't just in terms
out of results of that.
Yes. It was a coup attempt, and like I mean, we didn't show, I don't think, the full footage of. They aired this last night, and I was flipping back and forth. I watched a good amount of it, though. And of the cop, one of the cops who died, literally, falling to the ground, essentially, and their families were there. It's just a bit of hypocrisy, given that that crowd is supposedly pro-cop, but it's only really if it's in opposition to black people, which is a good reminder. Say if a black militia group did this, what would have happened? What the reaction would have been?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, if this happened in response to the 2000 election, I would have felt bad for like the individuals who were caught in the crossfire of it. But frankly, it's not a huge crime. This is a crime because it was built on a lie.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
In the 2000 election, that election was stolen by the Supreme Court,
and people didn't, and there was like some like strong letters written, and like I'm not saying that would have gotten saved democracy or even led to good things if Jan 6 would happen in 2000. But I think the important thing to note is that violence there that committed by those Trump supporters was done to service a political lie from one of the major parties in this country, and that party continues to follow that path. They've been like not at all humbled.
Liz Cheney is likely going to be voted out because her polling numbers are so dismal, given her front-facing. Given how aggressive she's been, and I loathe to give a Republican credit, but it was hard not to watch last night and be like, all right, that's at least a principle to hang your hat on, which the Republican Party is usually devoid of. And I will also say this too: I think that there's a section of people that think it's uncool to talk about January 6th because downplaying it means that you're in some way opposition to like the mainstream media that really can only talk about it. You can do multiple things at once. This was a dire, insane attack on by a fascist right-wing mob, and it's necessary to talk about. Just because CNN and MSNBC are breathless about it and so excited to air this because the only thing they care about is protecting institutions and they're institutionalists, and this was an attack on the institution, doesn't mean that that's the only value in it, in that it was an attack on our institutions, which in my opinion are already quite rotten. What we care about is the fascist element, the right-wing mob element. And it's not uncool to talk about, and I think some in like the lefty influencer space feel that way. Or, because they only see themselves as in opposition to MSNBC or whatever. It's important to talk about. And another thing I was reminded of when you see that mob charging through the hallways there is how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was mocked for believing that she would get sexually assaulted by that mob. They came with zip ties and they came
Mocked
with
by people who live
nooses.
in gated communities, we should just say.
100%. So just she tweeted something last night like this, reliving this is you just feel like you're there all over again. And I can't even imagine what that must have felt like for someone like Ilhan Omar, someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in that time.